Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from Community Health System, Fresno State Associated Students, Inc., Harris Ranch Resort, Producers Dairy, the Spencer Family, and The Wonderful Company. Additional support provided by the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's 4 public universities. This is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Blake Zanti.
Welcome to the Maddy Report. I'm Blake Zanti, Executive Director of the Maddy Institute. Today we'll be discussing affordability, access, and student success at Fresno State. We're joined by Dr. Saúl Jiménez-Sandoval, President of California State University, Fresno. President Jiménez-Sandoval, thank you for joining the Maddy Report today.
It's my true honor to be here with you, Blake.
Well, thank you. And I know you are a huge supporter of the Maddy Institute and the work that we do, so we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us today.
Absolutely.
Could you just tell us briefly about your background and your journey into higher education?
You know, I'm just a kid from Fowler, deep inside of me, right? I came to Fowler when I was 10 from Mexico. I grew up in my father's tomato farm. And then I went away for college, not because I didn't want to go to Fresno State, but because I grew up with a large family and I needed to be on my own. I came back to the Valley armed with a PhD. I taught for 15 years in the classroom, Spanish and Portuguese poetry. And after that, I became the dean and then the provost and then the president, all within the same institution, all within the same area in which I grew up, which is a really unique position that I have. You know, I don't think anybody else in the U.S. has what I have by having the honor of serving both where I grew up, so yeah.
Well, it's definitely a huge testament and probably a great example for other Valley students who see that they can grow up in a small community like Fowler and then become the president of Fresno State. Sort of shifting gears a little bit, Fresno State is a huge institution. It's part of the CSU system, 23 other campuses. Right now, the state of California is budgeting to make a cut to the CSU, and the CSU is facing a $375 million shortfall. How will this, if it is passed by the legislature, and understanding that these are still ongoing budget negotiations, of course, if this goes through, how would this impact Fresno State?
So it'd be huge. I want to put this into context, though. We have already gone through a reduction at Fresno State of about $450 million within the past 2 years. We have not had a cut, we have had a budget gap. But that gap meant that we had to cut at Fresno State 500 classes, which is massive, right? And then that reduction of $400 and something million to the system translated into Fresno State cutting $10 million of permanent funding. So with 500 classes already cut, if I'm forced to cut yet again, my share of that 375 would be $19 million, and that would mean about 900 classes. So total, we're speaking about 1,400 classes at a time, I have to say, in which I'm growing the student population at Fresno State, one of the few in the state who are growing in population. So it's contradictory to grow and at the same time to say, really sorry, but I have to cut 900 more classes.
And many of those students who come to Fresno State are from the Central Valley, from the immediate area.
That's right.
And when they graduate, they end up staying in the region.
That's exactly right.
Could you just share a little bit more about the economic impact of Fresno State on the region?
So let me put it into bigger context. 90% of our students are from the region. We are fully and thoroughly invested in students who come to us and in students who see Fresno State as the gateway to a better life. Within that then, when the students come to me, they graduate, and then out of that, 80% stay in the region. This coming weekend, 6,200 alumni are going to walk that stage. 6,200 graduates are going to walk that stage. That's incredible. What does that mean? It means that out of those 6,200, 80% stay in the region. That means that about 5,000 are going to stay in the region. That's 5,000 more bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctorate degrees for our region's economy and for our society as well.
Thank you. We're going to continue to talk about that impact later on in the show. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. President Jimenez-Sandoval, congratulations on Fresno State's Carnegie classification and also the renewal of the R2 status. I know that these are huge milestones for an academic institution like Fresno State, and it's incredibly affirming and important to see our regional success with this classification. You've often emphasized, and we talked about this a little bit previously, but Fresno State is dynamically linked to the Valley. How will these new classifications and maybe some of the other recognition that Fresno State has received recently help with deepen the university's relationship with the local business community, education community, local government? Could you just talk about that importance?
You know, oftentimes we grow up in the Valley, and I grew up in Fowler again, and we tend to see Fresno State as sort of like part of the wallpaper, right? Part of like, Fresno State is always there, sort of like the oxygen that we breathe. We take it for granted a lot of times, but I want to just throw out, the opportunity. We're an opportunity university by Carnegie, on the one hand, but on the other hand, we're ranked as 4th in the nation for social mobility. We're ranked overall. This is overall 22nd in the entire nation by Washington Monthly, and people think that this is, it's huge. It's tremendously huge. Why? Because through this, then, we are able to leverage not only our contacts with industry partners in the region, but we're also able to tell our own story to our own students and tell them, you are coming to a world-class institution that provides you with world-class teaching. Specifically, we teach our students in a very profound, meaningful way. Not TAs, but actual professors are teaching you at Fresno State. So within that, then, I think I want to point out that we are fully invested in the community, in that for the past 15 years, we have provided more than 1 million hours of community service to the region. This year alone, it was 1.43 million hours. Within the system, 23 campus system, like you mentioned before, CSU, total is like 1.57. We're like 80-something% of the entire systems of the CSUs hours for community engagement. That's tremendously huge, and I'm really proud of that.
And that's so important to understand that linkage between the community impact, not just the educational impact that Fresno State has. Also something I want to touch on, the renewed R2 designation. What steps, and what steps are the university taking to support faculty and students in sustaining or even growing this research momentum? And could we eventually aim for R1 status? Is that something on the horizon?
So I'm solidifying the R2 really strongly right now. We have a whole slew of internships coming on board in the fall based on the student fees that we're going to have in the fall. And with this, then, what we will do is we will strengthen our ability to leverage research in the field with our partners, with industry. That's one part. But the other part is, when I became president, it was about $39 million per year. Now we're almost at $70 million per year in research. Research is important because the faculty member is able to do something innovative in the field that's applied, and our research is applied, right? It's, how do we grow better almonds, for example? It's actually concrete research that we have out there on the one hand. But then on the other hand, what we do is this research returns back into the classroom with meaningful lessons that are profound. You don't want a professor that is teaching the same thing 10 years in a row, right? So research allows us to have dynamic, really engaged teaching in the classroom as well. Within this, then, I'm going to solidify the R2, and then I'm going to, place it strongly enough for the R1 later on in the line.
That's exciting. Also Fresno State offers a range of course, bachelor's degrees, but also master's and even some doctoral degrees as well. Are there plans to expand or build upon those programs in the future?
There are plans right now to solidify the master's degrees that are iconic at Fresno State. Some of these, like public policy, for example, we have a master's in public policy and social sciences. We need to really showcase the power of these master's degrees, and then also go further into the possibility of other doctorate degrees. The more doctorate degrees we're able to provide, the stronger we become as an R2, and then of course, on ways to an R1.
Thank you. We're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. President Jimenez-Sandoval, thanks again for joining us on the Maddy Report.
My pleasure.
Fresno State's created a number of education programs like Bulldog Bound, Upward Bound, that expand access to higher education. And given that over 50% of Fresno State students are first-generation college students, many Central Valley communities face systemic barriers to higher education. These programs are very critical. How is Fresno State ensuring that these programs are reaching rural and underserved high schools throughout the valley, especially where college rates remain fairly low? And I think before we were recording, you were just telling me about one of your recent visits to a rural community as well.
That's right. So I was in Dinuba last night, and it was this incredible embrace of a warm community that was celebrating more than 60% of their students coming to Fresno State, which is just amazing. Let me give you a sense of where we are with Bulldog Bound. Bulldog Bound is a contract between the parents, the student, the district, and Fresno State. And in doing so, what do we say? Take these classes, get these grades, and you are admitted to Fresno State immediately, right? That's sort of like the basic template that most universities are following. On top of that, though, we provide very intentional workshops to the students and the parents on financial aid, on the services that we provide. Tutoring, what's the value of tutoring, right? You don't go to your tutor one day before the exam, you go to tutor throughout the entire semester. So in doing so, what we do is we empower the parents and the student to know what the resources are and what the value of that Fresno State degree is gonna be at the end of the day. Let's go to the rural communities specifically, and I have some stats for you. Kings Canyon has grown in applications to Fresno State by 20% in just 2 years. Kerman, 25%, and Porterville, 43%. What is this saying to you? This is saying to you that what our students are seeing in Bulldog Bound is the possibility towards a pathway towards a better life.
And you know, the Central Valley has a lot of, in the counties of Fresno, Tulare, Madera, Kings County have high concentrations of first-generation students. You just talked about some of those measurable outcomes, but maybe share some stories or other anecdotes of that impact of those first-generation students coming to Fresno State.
So what a first-generation student specifically wants to know is, how do I build the bridge from high school to college? Who's going to be in Fresno State, when I go? Who's gonna have my back, right? When I give the speeches that I usually give, last night I gave a speech to Dinuba, which is this one. 3 things to do at Fresno State in order to be successful. Number 1, get involved. Clubs and organizations are really important. Number 2, know your resources. Bottom floor of the library, learning center. That's where you go for tutoring. Not once, but throughout the entire semester. And number 3, the most important one is you need to learn how to bounce back. You make a mistake, doesn't matter. You keep going and you try out, a different way to actually correct that mistake. But most importantly, I tell the students this. I'm at the booth. I have a president's booth at Fresno State. I'm at the booth twice a month for an entire hour. If you have a situation that you cannot solve on your own, you come to me and you and I will solve it together. So what a student wants is they want to know, if I go to a place, will I have resources? Will I thrive? Will I meet people? Will somebody care for me specifically, right? So I tell them, I'm your biggest champion. I'm there for you because when you graduate, 80% of you stay in the region. And guess what? I grew up in this region. I'm invested deeply because of friends, family, neighbors.
That's important. And around 80% of Fresno State graduates remain in the Central Valley after graduation. How is the university strengthening public-private partnerships to create more local opportunities that make staying in the Valley both economically and professionally viable for alumni?
We have an incredible array of centers at Fresno State that reach out to our industry partners. I'll give you one example. We won our frozen foods with Bill Smithcamp. He had an issue. He was using too much water because he was peeling the tops of the strawberries with water. My team of students, engineers went in there, studied it for about 3 months, came out with a report and said, instead of using water, use an air knife. And now he's saving about 500,000 gallons of water per year. So that's a type of impactful projects that we engage with my students, completely and utterly dynamic and intelligent, with my professors, fully invested as a team. They resolve issues for our industry partners.
That's a great example. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll wrap up the program. We'll be right back after this. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. President Jimenez-Sandoval, Fresno State plays a vital role in the agricultural identity of both our region and the CSU system. And, you know, if you're driving down Chestnut Avenue, you'll see the over 1,000 acres of farmland, 22 student-run enterprises, and the distinction of operating the first university winery in the nation licensed to bottle and sell wine.
That's exactly right.
Fresno State graduates hundreds of ag students each year. How is the university evolving its curriculum to prepare these students for a rapidly changing industry? And you just talked about the example with Bill Smitkamp and the engineering students. At Wawona Frozen Foods, but you know, also there are areas in climate resiliency or sustainability or ag tech. What's some of the work that's going on at the university currently?
Agriculture is engineering at its maximum capacity. Agriculture is also computer science because it's data. It's data for the future, and it's data for now as well. Agriculture is also about the best engineering in terms of maximizing water. Right? So what I'm doing at Fresno State and what we're all doing collectively is we're merging disciplines together. We're merging the business aspect into ag. We're merging marketing, branding, everything goes into ag. And within this then, I want to really focus on what the future holds for us. It's certainly AI and it's quantum computing. Right now, we have, thanks to our partnership with F3, a supercomputer coming to Fresno State, with a partnership between Fresno State and UCSD. That is going to be a game changer for us, not just for ag, but for every other discipline at Fresno State. What does that mean? We will be able to process information at incredible speeds, simultaneously taking into consideration multiple scenarios and multiple situations. This is what we need in order to solve the future. The future is food security. Food security for us in the U.S. is national security, and we produce 25% of the nation's food right here. We're the epicenter of it. So the more we are able to secure a maximum capacity of production in the field, the stronger as a country will be moving forward.
Now, the 1,000-acre university agricultural laboratory gives students hands-on experience, as I just mentioned, everything from winemaking to livestock. Are there plans to expand or modernize the farm to reflect some of the changes in agriculture?
Here's the kicker, right? We are the crucial university in the region in so many aspects, yet we are part of a system. The system has deferred maintenance, and out of that, we represent 15% of the entire system's deferred maintenance, without counting athletics, by the way. So in my farm right now, I can give you a whole list of things that need to be repaired or that need to be modernized as well. That is crucial to me, and that's what I'm working on right now, but I can't do it alone. I really need the industry as well as the state to step in and say, you, Fresno State, are a critical partner, not just to the region, but to the state. We are part of the future of the state. And any cut that comes to Fresno State is not a cut to the university. It is a cut to the region. It is a cut to my ability to produce those 6,200 graduates that power the economy and power the society of our Central Valley.
Now, you mentioned the great need to modernize the farm and some of the challenges with the state of California and the budget.
Sure.
You know, how does Fresno State collaborate with Valley industry partners and agribusiness to try to bring about some of those changes? Are there things that are currently in the works?
We do greatly collaborate. We collaborate on our research deals with, let me give you an example, right? The more we pump water out of the ground, the more saline it has. So we need to actually work with crops that are able to thrive with salinized water, or we need to come up with technologies that desalinize the water from the water, right? That's what we're working on. We're working on actual solutions that we get from the industry directly that we know are going to make a huge difference in our Valley ag.
Well, President Jimenez-Sandoval, that's all the time we have today, I'm afraid.
Always too short.
It's always too short, and I know that you have a lot of other things that you're working on, so we hope you'll join us again on the program. Thank you for being here.
It's always my honor. Thank you, Blake.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit our new website at themaddyinstitute.org. Thank you. What makes a community thrive? How do we bridge the gap between government and policy and the people it impacts? The Maddy Institute was founded to answer questions like these, to create a link between government and the citizens it serves, and to inspire a new generation of leaders dedicated to public service. In 1999, the California legislature unanimously established the Maddy Institute in honor of former California State Senator Kenneth L. Maddy. Senator Maddy was widely respected for his commitment to bipartisan solutions and his dedication to the people of California's Central Valley. Known for his ability to work across the aisle, Senator Maddy believed that effective government begins with respectful dialogue, evidence-based policy, and a commitment to the common good. Today, the Maddy Institute continues his legacy. Our mission is threefold. 1, to promote more effective and inclusive government. 2, to encourage civic engagement. And 3, to conduct research on key issues impacting the Central Valley. Through these efforts, we aim to educate, inspire, and empower the next generation of public servants and community leaders. One of the most impactful ways we fulfill this mission is through our internship programs. Each year, the Maddy Institute provides opportunities for students from the Central Valley to work in legislative offices, both in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., as well as local government agencies. These internships give students real-world experience in policymaking, allow them to see government in action, and help them build the skills they need to make a difference in their communities. But the Maddy Institute isn't just for students. Through our civic engagement programs, we create opportunities for everyone to participate in the political process. From community forums to workshops, we bring people together to discuss important issues facing the Central Valley, like water management, air quality, economic development, and education. These events foster open dialogue, allowing citizens to engage directly with policymakers, experts, and others, creating a stronger and more informed community. And to ensure the public stays informed, the Maddy Institute produces the Maddy Report, a weekly public affairs broadcast that covers the latest issues impacting California. Each episode features interviews with lawmakers, journalists, and subject matter experts, providing insights and analysis on topics that matter to our region. Whether it's understanding new legislation or exploring solutions to local challenges, the Maddy Report is a trusted source of information for those who want to stay engaged. At the heart of everything we do is a belief that good governance requires an informed and engaged public. From nurturing young leaders to fostering dialogue, the Maddy Institute is dedicated to creating a future where the people of the Central Valley can thrive. Join us as we continue Senator Maddy's legacy. Together, we can build a brighter future, one informed and engaged citizen at a time. The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.com.